Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show. And I'm not at the archive. This is a pre recorded show because I'm on the road. And being on the road, I've noticed a lot of trucks. So today we're going to watch films about trucks. The first film we're going to watch is an educational film for kids about truck driving and truck drivers. And let's watch and see how much has changed about truck driving since this film was made. I'm guessing not a whole lot, but here it is. Enjoy.
Bye, honey. See you day after tomorrow.
Goodbye, Tom.
So long, kids. Mind your mother now. Bye-bye, Slugger. Take good care of that truck now.
Bye, Tom.
Bye. Bye.
Another overnight trip begins for Tom Dwyer, a truck driver.
Hi, Mike.
Oh, hi, Tom.
What have you got for me today?
You've got a hot load to Sandusky, Ohio. Tom, you're going to get your regular tractor, 3880 and 1136.
Okay, I'll leave as soon as I'm loaded. So long, Mike.
Have a nice trip, Tom.
This big trucking terminal in Chicago is one of many where thousands of tons of freight are shipped all over the country. Big cans of paint, tables in their shipping cartons, heavy tractor tires, new automobile wheels. These and other shipments are sorted and packed into trucks bound for many different cities. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lansing, Michigan, Toledo, Ohio. And here's Tom Dwyer's truck for Sandusky, Ohio, loaded and ready to go. The rear part of the truck is the trailer. The front part with the motor is the tractor. It's backed into place by a yardman. The yardman connects the air brake hoses from the tractor to the trailer. This gives him brake control over both sections of the truck. Then he locks the two sections together. The front trailer supports are cranked up. They're used only for parking. Then the yardman drives the truck to the checkout station. Yardmen do all the driving inside the terminal. The truck must be ready for the open road before Tom starts his driving. This man is pumping in 120 gallons of gasoline. Tom always stands by to keep watch on his own truck. This man weighs the trailer to make sure it's not too heavy or unbalanced. Then the trailer doors are sealed with a metal strip. Tom checks his safety equipment. Red signal flags, red flares, flag stands, spare headlight kit, and a loaded fire extinguisher. Looks like everything's in good shape. Tom is on his way. Destination, Sandusky, Ohio, 340 miles east of Chicago. In trucking language, Tom is carrying a hot load. That is, a load that must be delivered by a certain time. He's expected to be there by 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Much of the nation's goods are moved by truck. Tom passes many trucks on his way out of town. Long-distance giants like his own. City trucks of many kinds. As he leaves Chicago, Tom crosses the state line that divides Illinois from Indiana. For part of his trip, he's going to travel on the Indiana State Toll Road. On this road, he can keep his truck moving without having to stop for cross-traffic. Drivers must pay a toll to use this road. Tom will pay when he leaves. Now he receives a pass showing where he entered the road. Indiana State Police patrol the road. Each state has its own police force. Here's a truckload of paper leaving the toll road on its way to Chicago. And here's a truckload of new automobiles from Chicago on their way east. On the toll road, it's smooth driving for Tom, many miles without a stop. Good modern roads are a welcome sight to truck drivers. Fine highways like this one are being built in many parts of the country. Often they're called by different names: toll roads, turnpikes, freeways, parkways, superhighways. All of them mean safe, steady driving for long-distance trips. Just before sundown, Tom stops at one of the service stations on the toll road. This is called a safety stop. Truck drivers are required to make them every 3 hours. While Tom rests, a serviceman at the station checks his truck from bumper to bumper. Safety is very important to such drivers, for their lives depend on it. The serviceman looks over Tom's engine carefully. He checks to see whether there's enough oil in the engine. He looks at the radiator to make sure there's enough antifreeze mixture in it. Service like this helps to keep the truck from breaking down on the open highway. The serviceman finishes by pounding all 14 tires with a hammer. He can tell the air pressure just by the sound. After his rest, Tom is ready for the road again. He still has 250 miles to travel before 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Although Tom is carrying a load that weighs about 16 tons, his truck moves fast and is easy to handle. Shortly after dark, Tom comes to the place where he's going to turn off the toll road. This is where he must pay toll for using the road. Tom must drive more slowly now. The road goes through small towns. There are traffic lights and crossroads. These cause many more stops and starts. Midnight is Tom's mealtime, and at last he sees a welcome sight. This restaurant is one where truck drivers often stop. It serves good food, and there are hotel rooms where drivers on long trips can sleep. Tom sees some of his friends here. Here's one who drives for Tom's company. He says he ran into snow coming in. Tom orders his food. Tom relaxes and rests and enjoys his meal. Hot food, a cup of hot coffee, and it's soon time to be off again. These are lonely hours, the hours after midnight, when a driver wishes he were home with his family, safe, warm, and asleep. With the fire out, Tom makes sure that the driver is all right. The driver explains that he must have rounded the curve too fast and went off the road. Tom offers to get some flares and shows the driver how they're lighted. He tells the driver to put them around his car and out on the road too. It's important to have plenty of warning lights when a car is parked near the highway. The driver thanks Tom, but to Tom, it's just part of his job. He'll send back help from the next town, which is only a few miles down the road. Just before dawn, it begins to snow. Tom must drive more slowly, but he's still making good time. By the time day breaks, he's almost at the end of his trip. He pulls into Sandusky right on schedule and brings his truck into the terminal. The seal is broken, and now the big load of freight which Tom brought from Chicago, 16 tons, 32,000 pounds, will be unloaded onto the platform. The men there will separate each shipment according to where it goes in the city. Tom's all-night trip is over. He's done his job well. But the men of the trucking terminal and the city truck drivers are just beginning their day's work. Many, many things will be delivered by truck today. Painting supplies, lumber and construction materials, bread and coffee cake for breakfast tables, ready-mixed concrete for new roads, milk, cream, butter, and eggs. Yes, and the United States mail, too. The trucking industry works around the clock. Tom will sleep today in a nearby motel, while his trailer is loaded for his return trip tonight. By tomorrow morning, Tom will be nearing Chicago with another 16 tons of freight. Things made in Sandusky and other Ohio towns, being sold to companies in Chicago and beyond. And best of all, Tom will be driving home to his family.
Yeah, that was great. Films about transportation from the 40s and 50s are just fascinating to me. They all talk about the transportation infrastructure, and really, it's important. I mean, obviously, it was when we were having the issues with supply chain issues, which we're still having, where you had a bunch of container ships that were stuck out in the middle of nowhere that come in. Then you need a bunch of trucks to come in and move all that stuff across the country. And so still very, very important. The next one we're going to watch is a personality profile on a truck driver named Gret. And this is about a female truck driver. And so this is a pretty great film. Enjoy.
Gret Gentili Simpson is a 38-year-old woman, a wife, a mother, and a truck driver.
Amusing incident that happened when I was driving up Broad Street recently. Was a great big truck pulled up beside me, and the driver was from out of the city, and he yelled over, "Hey, Mac, can you tell me where Callahill Street is?" And I turned to look at him, and he got really flustered. He says, "Oh, I mean, ma'am," you know. And I told him where the street was that he was looking for, but it was just an amusing situation because he assumed that he was yelling over to a local truck driver. And when he saw that it was a woman, he just was flustered for a minute.
We moved from Albany, New York, and I had been teaching and directing daycare centers, and I was really ready to look into some other kind of work. First of all, I know the teaching situation is tight. And I saw an ad that said, "Women interested in non-traditional jobs, call." And when I explained what I was interested in and my physical capabilities, she said, "Oh, you're just the kind of women we're looking for." And the fact that I drive stick shift and have for years and years gave me a good foothold for the UPS job, United Parcel Service. But I've always been an athletic, outdoorsy kind of person, and everything about working in a labor job where you sweat and work, and it just rung right. My husband has a white-collar job that pays very, very minimally, and beside the financial need for two incomes, I have an emotional need. I found that during the time when I wasn't working, when the children were real young, I was almost a basket case, not knowing that I had a certain amount of money that I could spend on whatever needs arose. When I interviewed, they would ask about my background, and even though I didn't fudge about any of the teaching experience in the background that I had, I always pointed out the things that I had done that required heavy work, like moving in a U-Haul recently and packing furniture. You know, I used the things that I had done that had required physical strength and sort of played down the desk and the indoor kinds of jobs that I had also had. Because being almost 40, at first I thought, you know, people hiring for outdoor hard labor jobs would just assumed that, I was too old. A woman and almost 40, I figured were two factors that were against me. But my whole psychic energy right now is geared toward, using the strength that I have. I was a little uneasy the first couple of days on this job, whether I could do it or not. I said something to my sister at one point, and she said, just do the job. You don't have to prove to anybody that women can do this job. You just are doing the job for yourself. And that's exactly why I'm working, because it's a job that I enjoy, that I can do, and I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just earning a living.
One of the situations that I had to deal with was a huge pothole right beside the curb. And it is possible for a truck to get stuck in that pothole. And then I kept thinking it was going to happen to me. And everyone would see this truck wheel down into this pothole, and you'd have to get towed out because you couldn't get out on your own. And I kept thinking, if I do that, everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, that's a woman driver, and she got stuck in that pothole. And then I found out from some of the other drivers that it has happened. Thank goodness it's never happened to me, but it has happened to several of the drivers. And then that kind of freed me up of not being so nervous that if I did it, it would be a unique situation. I mean, it happens to men, too. So I just continue driving and look out for the potholes and try not to get stuck. But I don't worry so much about putting women in an unfavorable light. Generally, I get into work by 8 o'clock, so I have time to have a cup of coffee. But the first few times I went into the cafeteria, I felt very uneasy because all the women clerical workers sit in one section of the cafeteria and the men drivers sit in another section. At first, I didn't know whether to sit with the women or to sit with the drivers. So I'd sit with the women 1 or 2 days, and then I sat by myself 1 or 2 days, and finally I realized I wanted to associate with the drivers, but I didn't want to impose upon their conversations. So after sitting with the drivers for a few days and realizing that they were not really antagonistic that I was there, but not really accepting either, then one time I said to them, look, I know when I sit down with you guys, it changes the whole tone of your conversation, but if I sit with the women, you think,
What's the matter with her? She thinks she's too good for us?
And once I verbalized the uneasiness about where I fit in, I think it made things a lot easier.
It could add extra strain on me while I'm working if I was constantly aware of, I'm a woman doing a job that has always been done by a man. But when I'm out there doing that job, I don't allow myself to dwell on what people might be thinking. One of the men's store owners that I deliver to said to me, when you're doing this job, doesn't that mean that some man isn't getting hired for the job? And I said, I have a family to support, I need the job, and I can do the job. And men can apply for the job also. One of the storekeepers on Walnut Street asked me one day last week if I was married. And I said, yeah, I've been married 16 years. And he said, oh, well, I'm looking for a wife that'll support me, and you sure are hardworking. I've heard some snide comments. Oh, there's one of those liberated women. What's she doing a man's job for? What does she think she is, a man? But there's no time to react. And, I just keep doing my job. I get such mixed reactions. Women stop me on the street saying, right on, sister, it's good to see someone doing that kind of work. So that the things that I come home and talk to my family about are the positive things, the things that I enjoy. My 2 sons think it's really super great. My daughter, who is 12, had a little bit of trouble at first coming to grips with my mother, the truck driver, but she understands it and, appreciates the fact that I'm doing it and the fact that there's more money coming in right now than there would be if I weren't doing this job. My husband, it's not the image that his family or he has ever had of what his wife does, but he's able to cope with it and just kind of go with it.
John knows that it's important to me to do this kind of work, and he's been very supportive and very helpful. John has been able to adapt his schedule to meet the needs of the family while I'm working a 12 or 14-hour day. So it hasn't been as difficult for me as it would be, if he weren't able and willing to adapt in that way.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed cooking. It's more time I spend with the kids. I've gotten to know them, and I think they've gotten to know me better. And that's one of the positive benefits that's happened thus far.
Gret and John have a good relationship now, but there were some difficulties in the past. When they first married, Gret identified with her husband's career. Then she started reading the literature of the women's movement and became aware, as she says, of her own personhood. This put a strain on the marriage, and the communication broke down, so she and John separated for a short time. They reunited and are both adjusted and happy with the changes.
There's another benefit now, however, and that is that I have a lot of freedom. What I mean by that, I feel a lot of stress sometimes at work. And I know that if the stress becomes more than I can cope with, the kids won't go hungry, the mortgage payments will be made, because Gret can do that. That gives me more chance to really be into the job, to kind of flow with it.
When you're out on the job, you have a whole truck full of parcels, and you want to get them all delivered and make your pickups so that you have a full truck when you go back in. It's such a clear-cut kind of a job. Other jobs I've had have been so undefined, and working with kids, you don't really see the results of what you're doing. But when you're driving a delivery car and you have to deliver those packages, you know when you're getting them done. Like when I was teaching, I would get home and I would be carrying, either physically carrying my paperwork home or carrying my mental overload from the day's job. Whereas with this job, I get home and I'm tired, but I have no baggage, no emotional baggage. I just bring myself home.
Gret's raised consciousness leads her to want more for her husband, so he won't be bound by a stereotyped sex role.
For a number of years, I was home with raising small children, and I had a lot of freedom at that time to pursue some of my own interests in music and to do a lot of reading. And it has occurred to me recently that my husband should be entitled to that same kind of freedom now that the children are in school all day and I am working and making a good salary, that it would be very helpful for him to have time off to just pursue some of his own interests and just do some of the things that he would like to do rather than the things he feels he would.
I love it because this film is like from a certain specific time and place, and that's why we watch these films, is they capture what was going on at that time. And the idea of a woman truck driver was such a novelty, and here it is. Here's something that somebody said, you know what, we should document this person. So one of the things when we're traveling is, looking at trucks as we drive past them, and looking at all the signage on them, and occasionally we see something that it's like, I wonder what's on that truck. Well, this next film is I wouldn't say it's a how-to, but it's definitely a instructional film for people who are transporting radioactive material. It's the AIRDA Transportation Safeguards film, and it is fascinating. I love finding these niche films, and this one is really great. So enjoy.
More and more nuclear material is moved from one place to another within the United States each year. The responsibility for the safety and security of these nuclear material shipments rests with various U.S. government agencies: the Energy Research and Development Administration, ERDA, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC, and of course the Department of Defense. ERDA, which this film is all about, and the NRC were formed in January 1975 when the old Atomic Energy Commission was reorganized. ERDA is responsible for government-owned special nuclear material in quantities which have potential weapon applications. The events of the past several years, civil unrest, hijackings, bombings, and other terrorist activities, both worldwide and here in the United States, have increased the concern for the security of nuclear material shipments. The system that has come out of all this is a good one, and is considered effective enough to cover almost all contingencies. The program does recognize, however, that an aggressor force that is well enough motivated, manned, and equipped can challenge even the best planned system. Because of this, ERDA has asked for the help of state law enforcement agencies across the country as a kind of first line of defense in emergency situations. To understand what may be requested of you in an emergency, some background on the ERDA organization, program, equipment, and tactics is necessary. Because of the amount of material moved and many years of experience in weapons transport, the Albuquerque Operations Office was selected as the organization responsible for all aspects of the transportation of strategic quantities of government-owned special nuclear material. These, or larger amounts of material, alone or in combination, are considered strategic quantities and must be moved within the ERDA single manager system. To give you an idea of how much material is involved, 2 kilograms, 4½ pounds, of plutonium would be about the size of a pack of cigarettes. For safety protection, it is of course packaged in a much larger container. The Transportation Safeguards Division, a part of the Albuquerque Operations Office, has the primary responsibility for both transportation and protection of special nuclear material. The Technical Support Branch provides electronic system engineering support and staffs and operates CCOM, a nationwide high-frequency radio system which provides for constant communications with shipments throughout the country. This branch also provides liaison with state law enforcement agencies. The Shipment Planning Branch coordinates all movements. Requests for movement of material are consolidated, the means of transportation is determined, and the requirement is passed on to the Safeguards Branch. This branch handles the actual movement of the special nuclear material. Its responsibilities also include the administration and training of the ERDA Courier Force, which accompanies all shipments of special nuclear material which fall within the strategic quantities category. Courier forces are stationed at several locations across the country. The ATMX cars were designed specifically for the movement of special nuclear material. They are very heavy, have a low center of gravity, double locking couplers, and inwardly sloping ends to reduce car damage in the event of a collision, and to prevent the propagation of an explosion from one car to the next. These features, combined with the maximum 35-mile-an-hour speed, makes it almost inconceivable that they would be involved in an accident of sufficient force to rupture the car and expose the material. The escort coaches which accompany the train are fully self-contained, with sleeping quarters, kitchen facilities, and extensive communications equipment. The car is armored to help protect the crew and equipment in the event of an attack. Vans of this type, called ponies, are used to transport small quantities of material that do not fit into the strategic quantities category. Occasionally, because of classification or sensitivity, courier service is required on these shipments also. By far, the most common method of moving strategic quantities of special nuclear material is the courier-escorted tractor-trailer rig. ERDA owns a large fleet of these tractor-trailers. The tractors are armored and equipped with communications gear. The trailer resembles a large standard freight trailer on the outside. Inside, it is practically a rolling vault. The inner compartment, where the cargo is stowed, provides protection to the shipment in an accident and protection from an overt attack as well. A typical convoy consists of the tractor trailer and one or more escorting vehicles. Each vehicle is manned by 3 couriers. The escort can be either a carry-all or a tactical escort vehicle. The tactical escort vehicle uses a typical recreational vehicle body. It is armored and equipped with communications gear, weapons, ammunition, sleeping quarters, and cooking facilities. Both vehicles are relatively low profile. Equipment in each of the convoy vehicles includes HF radio gear for digital and voice communications with CCOM via the relay sites, VHF gear for communications within the convoy, portable radios and pagers for use when courier personnel are away from their vehicles at fueling or food stops. Each courier has his own .357 Magnum sidearm, and the vehicles are stocked with M16 rifles, 12-gauge shotguns, and 40-millimeter grenade launchers. Other equipment includes radiation detection instruments, foul weather gear, gas masks. ERTA courier drivers are well trained and must continue to demonstrate driving proficiency throughout their career. Unsafe or illegal driving is not tolerated. If the tractor driver is stopped by a law enforcement officer for any reason, a unique problem is raised. Since the tractor is armored, the couriers have been instructed not to open the cab door until they are absolutely sure that security can be maintained. To handle this situation, the courier will display his picture identification card at the window and repeat the following message over the vehicle's public address system.
I'm a federal officer with the Energy Research and Development Administration in custody of sensitive material. I'm not permitted to open the door of this vehicle. I will remain stopped while you contact my supervisor in the escort vehicle to the rear.
The escort vehicles operate close enough to the tractor trailer to be on the scene by the time the truck is stopped. When the supervisor has identified the officer, the couriers in the truck will dismount if necessary. ERTA couriers are extensively trained and must meet high medical fitness standards, including mental and emotional stability, for annual certification under a human reliability program. Each courier must pass the ERTA driver school for all types of vehicles. He must qualify quarterly with his personal sidearm and other assigned weapons. Couriers are authorized by the Atomic Energy Act to carry firearms, including automatic weapons, in the normal pursuit of their jobs nationwide. Basic courier training is a 6-week course, which is followed by a year of on-the-job training, then 2 weeks of advanced training. With this as a background, let's look at situations that could require your help. In the first instance, if communications with the convoy is lost, or if a convoy does not report in at a specified time, the state police in the area would be asked to begin a search for the missing vehicles. While in most cases this is not a true emergency, it must be treated as if it were until proved otherwise. In the event of a genuine emergency, such as an armed attack on the convoy, the following actions would take place. One of the couriers would activate the emergency switch on the control panel. The digital message would be transmitted via relay to CCOM Control Center in Albuquerque. CCOM Control will react to the emergency message by notifying ERTA management and calling the predetermined state law enforcement agency in the state where the shipment is located. The FBI and other government agencies would then be notified. Basically, ERTA is requesting state law enforcement agencies to provide assistance from available forces in 7 categories which do not require special training or equipment. However, if the particular state has specially trained forces, such as SWAT or TACT teams, special weapons or equipment, such as all-purpose vehicles or aircraft, their use in such an emergency may be requested. The first officer on the scene should join with one of the couriers to establish a joint command post. This will enhance friend-foe identification. CCOM Control will keep an open telephone line to state headquarters. The officer at the scene will be given a handy-talkie radio so that he will have communications with other couriers on the scene, and he will also have radio communications via his car radio with his own headquarters. The second area of assistance would be to set up roadblocks around the emergency site to contain the attackers and prevent innocent bystanders from becoming involved in a possible shooting situation. Third, ERTA requests that the on-scene state officer direct the deployment and activities of any other law enforcement personnel, including sheriffs and city police, as they arrive on the scene. Fourth, the officers on the scene may be asked to provide additional firepower at the request of the courier in charge. Fifth, the officer at the scene should request medical assistance when and as necessary. And sixth, help secure the area until the convoy is regrouped and ready to travel. If the special nuclear material is lost to the attackers, the FBI has responsibility and assumes control of the recovery operation. You may also be asked to assist them in their operations. Among the other resources the FBI has available in a situation of this type is ERTA's NEST, or Nuclear Emergency Search Team. NEST teams have equipment which can locate nuclear material. The situations which have been suggested here have not happened, not yet anyway, but they could. And if they do, the terrorist group trying to grab nuclear material will be well prepared and deadly serious. The organizations which respond to a threat of this kind must be equally serious and determined if we are to prevent nuclear blackmail or large-scale loss of life and property. As members of a state law enforcement agency, you have significant roles to play in helping to maintain control of special nuclear material. Your quick response in an emergency can materially reduce the threats of radical and dissident groups.
Man, so fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And the concern about, the safety, like if the truck wrecks, but also, if it's hijacked, all those things are really fascinating to me. All right, this last film, we're going to cheat. It's not film, it's actually video. And this is a highway truck inspection video. And it's made for people who are hauling gravel, minerals, coal, dirt, whatever. And it's by the MSHA, which is the Mine Safety something. It's like OSHA, but it's for mines. Like I said, this is video, but I hope it's still entertaining nonetheless. Enjoy.
In an effort to keep the trucking industry as safe, reliable, and productive as possible, this video was produced to show drivers and inspectors how to maintain highway haulage vehicles. At the mine site, you'll need the following equipment: a flat 1/4-inch blade screwdriver, a folding type tape measure, knee pads, hard hat, safety glasses, coveralls, mechanic's creeper for use on concrete or asphalt, pad for use on gravel or dirt, and wheel chocks. Select a flat area for the inspection. As the truck approaches, stand clear and signal where you would like the operator to stop. Stand clear and ask the operator to open the door. Explain that you would like to do an inspection of his truck and ask the operator to set the park brake and hold the service brake while you install the chocks. After you install the chocks, ask the operator to release all brakes. place the transmission in neutral and see if the truck moves. Now ask the operator to turn off the truck. Climb the steps to the cab area, introduce yourself, and ask if a pre-operational check of the vehicle was done prior to being operated. Ask to see the operator's training records. As the operator looks for the training records, observe the condition of the cab, windows, and mirrors. Look at the training records date and type of training received. Check the seat belt and fire extinguisher. Explain to the operator that you will now move to the front and back of the vehicle to check lights and other functions. Signal the operator to turn on the headlights, check high and low beam, right and left turn signals, and emergency flashers. Check windshield wipers and horns, steering wheel and air. At the rear of the truck, motion the operator to check the park lights, turn signals, brake lights, emergency flashers, and backup lights. Move back to the operator's compartment and ask the operator to raise the hood. Explain that you're going to test the steering, the brake components, and look at the undercarriage of the truck. Next, go to the driver's side front wheel and observe the linkage as the wheel is turned quickly right and left.
And I'd like for you to rotate your steering wheel back and forth for me.
Look at the pitman arm, drag link, and tie rod ends for slack or play. No more than 1/8 inch is allowed. Look at any shock mounting brackets and shocks. Instruct the operator to apply and hold the service brake when you say brake and release when you say release. Insert a flat screwdriver under the brake pad and yell brake to the operator.
Brake!
If the components are working properly, you will feel the brake shoe apply. Next, measure the stroke of the chamber arm to be sure that it is in compliance with the North American out-of-service criteria, which is 1 3/4 inches for a Type 20 chamber.
Release! Starter pins in, slack adjuster. I felt the brake apply against the drum. Canister's getting tight, everything looks good there.
Ask the operator to turn the steering wheel left and right, measuring the slack of the steering wheel. To check the slack or steering lash, begin with the tires pointed straight ahead. Next, turn the steering wheel in one direction until the tires just begin to pivot. Vehicles with power steering may require the engine running to turn the wheel. Place a mark on the steering wheel, then while holding the marker at that point, turn the wheel in the other direction until the tires again start to move. Measure the distance between the 2 points. This is the amount of steering lash. Excessive lash can indicate worn or loose steering components. The amount of allowable lash varies with the diameter of the steering wheel, and this measurement must be consistent with the size of the wheel listed in the North American out-of-service criteria. Move to the other side and check the same items on the passenger side front wheel. Climb under the front of the truck and look for any cracks in the frame, loose or missing bolts, spring hangers, and axle mount bolts. Look for cracks in the leaf springs or loose or missing springs. Look for combustible material and leaks. If you can clear the front axle, continue to the center of the engine. If you can't, climb out and go back under behind the front wheel. Look for broken engine mounts, frame cracks, and cracked cross members. Look at the transmission mounting bolts and cross member. Check U-joints and carrier bearings by applying pressure with your knee or foot. Observe all mounting brackets for tanks and combustible material. Proceed to the front-rear tandem and repeat the brake sequence. Place a screwdriver into or on the brake shoe and yell brake. Feel for movement and measure the travel distance of the plunger out of the brake chamber. This is usually a Type 30 chamber and is allowed 2 1/4 inches maximum. and travel should not exceed 2 inches. Do a test for each side.
Brake. Release. The adjustment's good. Cotter pin's in. Stroke adjustment looks good on both of them, but I do have a problem with this rear brake on the passenger side.
Come out and go to the rear tandem brakes, repeating the same sequence.
Brake! And release. Good.
After checking the brakes, look for any broken or missing bolts in the frame or springs hangers. Look at the frame and cross members. Check the fifth wheel for any loose or missing bolts. Look into the frame area and see if torsion bars and bushings are intact. Turn around and look at the trailer frame and look at the components of the trailer back to the front trailer axle. Check brakes as before. Insert screwdriver and yell, "Brake."
Brake! Release. Brake!
Observe any movement and measure brake chamber plunger for travel. Yell "Release."
Release.
Then check the S-cam bushing by checking for movement with your hand when the brake is not applied. Move to the next axle and check the same until all axles are completed. Some companies choose to remove brake shoe dust covers. In this case, the inspector would be able to observe the brake shoe movement when brakes are applied. Look at all mounting brackets, springs, and cross braces. Move out of the rear of the truck. As you come back to the operator side of the vehicle, tell the operator you are going to do a walk around of the vehicle and would like for the service brake to be applied so air leaks can be detected. Start with the driver's side front wheel, listening for obvious air leaks. Look at the fuel tank, steps, and mounting. Listen for air leaks and proceed down the side of the trailer to trailer axles. Check each wheel for lug nuts, brake drum nuts, and rim cracks. Check the tailgate closing mechanism and proceed down the passenger side of the truck, again checking the rear tandem tires for tread depth, 1/32. Knots, cuts, and checking wheels for lug nuts, axle nuts, and rim cracks. Continue to listen for air leaks. As you approach the cab, check to make sure your covers are intact, check your heat shields and exhaust system. Look at the cab mounts and steps as you climb up to check the glad hands on the truck. Check the red emergency airline, then check the blue service airline. Also look at some accessories, the tailgate control and axle control. Look at the light connection and check the ladder, that they're secure. Check the pogo stick, making sure all the lines are free from touching any of the drivetrain axles or wheels. As you climb down, check the windows and handholds as you move down the side of the truck. Check the tank, door, the mirrors, and windows. Checking the air tanks, making sure they're securely mounted. Check the passenger front wheel for tire tread depth, 2/32 of an inch. Check the brake drum bolts and the wedges of the wheel bolts and rims. Look at the seating ring that there are no bends or fractures.
Tony, would you open your door for me? We're going to check your low air pressure warning now.
Go back up to the operator's compartment and ask the operator to turn on the key and apply the service brake until the low air warning alarm is activated. This should occur at approximately 55 psi and below, or 1/2 of the governor cutout pressure, whichever is less. Have the operator continue to apply the service brake until the maxi sets up on both tractor and trailer. Many newer trucks may activate at a higher pressure.
Tony, I want to check the Jacobs brake on the truck. Tony, Tony, I'm going to have you set your trailer brakes, and then I'm going to go back and see if we have any air that's set up your tractor brakes. Just the trailer brakes only. I'm checking the tractor protection valve. So leave your trailer set up and your tractor's off, right?
Right.
And I'll be right back with you. Very good.
Ask the operator to start the truck and build the air pressure back up. Once the air is built up, ask the operator to apply the service brake, then remove the chocks. Ask the operator to set the trailer brake and gently move the tractor back and forth so you can observe the play in the fifth wheel, half-inch maximum. Stay clear of the truck while checking for movement. When inspecting a tandem truck, the inspection procedures are the same as that of a tractor-trailer. The only exception would be raising the bed in order to look at the rails, bed bracing, and the point where the bed attaches to the truck. If the inspection is clean, without any problems, then we'll let the operator continue to work. However, if we find problems, we'll ask the operator to step down and we'll point out each specific problem we found with the truck.
I'm going to issue 2 citations on your truck. One for the fire extinguisher and the other one on your front passenger side tandem wheel. You have a grease leak inside the wheel. There's actually grease on the shoe itself. And I'll need you to, clean that out. I'm going to issue a citation, but I'm going to let you run, however, because you're running on very small grades. It's mostly flat traffic in and out loading. And I'll give you until tomorrow to fix that. Is that okay?
All
Do you
right.
have any questions about the citations I'm going to issue you?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll let you continue your work, and I'll fix your citations up, and then after you load and head out, I'll give them to you on your way out. I'll be out tomorrow morning to check your truck and see if we've got everything taken care of. I'll ask you to get in and fire up. Let me get my chocks out of it, and once I get the chocks out of the truck, then you're free to go.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, buddy, and have a good day, okay?
A brake function test should be done each shift as part of your pre-operational check. The truck should be empty while being tested on an incline. Once your truck is loaded, do a brake function test on level ground before doing it on an incline. This best practice card has a pre-operation inspection checklist for your use. Best practice cards and other safety-related materials are available at the National Mine Health and Safety Academy, or visit our website at www.msha.gov.
Yeah. So it gets a little bit into the details, but yeah, that's what we're all about here is the details. I hope you like what you saw. We will be back again tomorrow. Again, it's going to be pre-recorded because we're traveling, but hopefully we'll have something that you will enjoy. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, or smash those buttons or whatever, the thumbs up button. You can also go to avgeeks.com and you can see other things we have online in our 24/7 channel. And also, here's a quick plea. A sister archive of ours in Kentucky was flooded. It was Apple Shop. And they had an amazing collection of films that they helped fund, filmmakers who were documenting the cultural history of the Appalachian Mountains. And they had a horrible flood that flooded their film vault, and they need your help. Any amount of money can help, even like $1. You can go to appleshop.org/donate, and there's a place that you can donate, and you can specify for the archive. They're going to need help with everything because it was kind of a cultural center, because they also had a radio station, they had a stage, They would have all these amazing events, and it's very sad. But there's a lot of archivists that have gone there. I'm not there because I had a prior commitment, but when I get back, we'll see what they need. But thanks again for tuning in, and please join us again tomorrow. Everybody take care.